Hello dear friend. Welcome to my audio storytelling channel. Comments number 1 if you are ready to dive into the story, and hit the like button if you are not ready to start. Sit back and join me on this emotional roller coaster. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter. Let's get started. Growing up, I had always admired my best friend Ryan for his loyalty, his humor, and his ability to make people feel at ease. He was the kind of guy everyone loved, always there for you no matter the circumstances. We'd been friends since childhood, and over the years we became more like family than anything else. I could tell him anything, and he would listen without judgment. Ryan's mother, Susan, was someone I had always respected. She was elegant, kind, and a person I looked up to in many ways. She was a bit older than most of the moms I knew, but she had this warmth that made her different. Her smile, the way she carried herself, it was like she had an aura of confidence and grace that radiated to everyone around her. Susan wasn't just Ryan's mother. She was the mother figure I never really had. She was always kind to me, always made sure I felt welcomed in her home. One afternoon, after a long day of hanging out, I found myself sitting at Ryan's house, talking with Susan in the kitchen. Ryan was upstairs working on his homework. The two of us had always had an easy camaraderie, but this time, something felt different. As we were talking, I noticed how effortlessly we connected. Her laugh felt genuine, and the way she spoke made me feel like I was the only person in the room. "Are you sure you're okay with how Ryan's been acting?" Susan asked, her voice soft and concerned. "I know he can be a bit much sometimes, but he really cares about you." I smiled at her, touched by the question. "It's fine, really. Ryan's just been going through a phase. I'm sure he'll be fine." There was a moment of silence before she spoke again, her eyes locking with mine, a glint of something I couldn't quite place in them. "You know," she said, her tone slightly different, "you've grown up so well. I always thought you'd be a great partner for someone." I blinked, taken off guard by her comment. "What do you mean?" She smiled warmly, though her eyes held something deeper, something I hadn't expected. "I just mean you're mature, responsible. The kind of person who deserves someone who truly appreciates you." I was still processing what she'd said when Ryan came downstairs, breaking the moment. He didn't seem to notice anything out of the ordinary, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between me and Susan. It was an innocent conversation, but the lingering tension in the air was undeniable. As I left Ryan's house that afternoon, I found myself thinking about Susan more than I had before. Her kindness, her grace, her beauty. But it wasn't just that. Something about her, something in the way she spoke to me, made my heart race a little faster. It was an odd feeling, one I quickly pushed aside, telling myself it was just admiration. But deep down I knew something had changed. I couldn't explain it, and I certainly didn't want to admit it to myself, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. About Susan, Ryan's mother. After that afternoon at Ryan's house, I couldn't stop thinking about Susan. It was unsettling. She was my best friend's mother, and I'd known her for years. How could I feel this way? How could I possibly have these feelings for her? A woman who had always been like a second mother to me. For the next few days I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just a fleeting moment. But every time I saw her, every time we exchanged words, I felt a strange tension that I couldn't explain. It wasn't just admiration anymore. It was something deeper, something more confusing. One evening, after Ryan had invited me over for a movie night, I found myself once again sitting in their living room, alone with Susan. Ryan had gone out to grab snacks, leaving the two of us alone for a few minutes. The silence between us felt thick, and I was hyper-aware of her presence. Susan noticed me shifting uncomfortably in my seat and smiled gently. "You're awfully quiet tonight. Something on your mind?" she asked, her voice soft and comforting as usual. I hesitated for a moment, unsure how to respond. How could I tell her that I had been thinking about her constantly? That every time I saw her I felt a strange pull? How could I explain these feelings without sounding crazy? "I'm just tired, I guess," I said, forcing a smile, hoping she wouldn't see through the lie. She studied me for a moment, her gaze unwavering. "You know you can always talk to me, right? I'm here for you. You've been like family to me for years." I nodded, grateful for her warmth. But as she spoke, that same strange feeling swept over me. The way her eyes lingered, the way she spoke so gently, it all felt too intimate. I felt my heart race. Ryan came back a few minutes later, breaking the moment, but I could still feel the lingering tension between Susan and me. I tried to ignore it, but it was impossible. That night, as I lay in bed, I replayed everything in my head. What was I supposed to do? How could I tell Ryan that his mother had somehow become the one person I couldn't stop thinking about? It felt wrong, almost sinful, but at the same time the attraction was undeniable. The next few days were a blur. I avoided seeing Susan for a while, not knowing how to face her. But the more I tried to distance myself, the stronger the feelings became. I couldn't keep pretending that it was just admiration. It was something else. Then, one afternoon, Ryan invited me over to hang out at his house. I reluctantly agreed, hoping that maybe some time together would help clear my mind. But as soon as I walked in, there she was, Susan, sitting in the living room, her presence overwhelming as always. She smiled warmly at me when I walked in, her eyes soft and welcoming. "Hey there, how's everything going?" she asked, her voice casual but with an underlying warmth that made my chest tighten. "Good," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I couldn't help but notice how beautiful she looked that day. Her hair was slightly messy, her eyes sparkling, and her smile so genuine. She looked nothing like the woman I had once seen only as Ryan's mother. "Well, I'm glad to hear that," she said, getting up to fix some drinks. The way she moved, graceful, fluid, only made me more aware of her. Ryan was upstairs, so it was just the two of us. I sat on the couch trying to act natural, but the air between us felt charged, heavy. My heart was racing and I could feel my palms sweating. Susan sat down next to me, and for a moment I thought I might pass out from the proximity. Her scent, the faint perfume she wore, was intoxicating. It was like everything in the room faded away. "Do you need anything?" she asked softly, her eyes meeting mine. "You look a little tense." I swallowed hard, feeling my throat dry. "I'm fine," I said, though my voice betrayed me. She smiled, sensing my discomfort. "If you ever need someone to talk to, you know I'm always here." Her words, gentle and kind, only seemed to draw me in further. There was a moment of silence between us. It was just long enough for me to feel the full weight of the situation. The connection between us, the undeniable pull, I could no longer deny it. The way she looked at me, the way she spoke to me, it was all too much. "Clara," she said, her voice lower now, softer. "You've always been like a son to me, but lately I've noticed something between us. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable, but I think you know what I mean." My heart stopped. The words hung in the air, pregnant with meaning, and I could feel the blood rushing to my face. I had been right. She did feel it too. The attraction, the tension, it was real. And neither of us had the words to explain it. The moment Susan had spoken those words, I was paralyzed with a mix of shock and guilt. How could this be happening? My best friend's mother, someone who had always been like a second mother to me, had just hinted that she felt the same strange attraction I did. I had tried so hard to ignore it, to tell myself that it was just a passing feeling, but now it felt undeniable. The room was silent, but the tension was palpable. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I couldn't think straight. I glanced at Susan, trying to read her expression, but all I saw was a quiet intensity in her eyes, a look that told me she was waiting for me to say something. I don't know what to say," I managed to stammer, my voice barely above a whisper. This isn't right, Susan." She smiled softly, as though she understood the turmoil I was feeling. "I know this is complicated, Clara. I know you're feeling conflicted, and I won't ask you to do anything you're not ready for. But I think you felt it too. The chemistry between us." I felt a surge of emotions flood over me. Guilt, desire, confusion. I could feel myself being pulled toward her, but I also knew that what we were talking about was dangerous, something I could never take back. Ryan would never forgive me. This would destroy everything. "I can't do this," I said, standing up quickly, my heart racing. "I'm sorry. I've known you for years, and this is wrong. I can't betray Ryan like this." Susan's expression shifted for a moment, the softness in her eyes replaced with something deeper, something knowing. "Clara, I'm not asking you to do anything right now, but I think we both know that there's more to this than either of us wants to admit. You don't have to act on it, but you can't ignore it either. Not anymore." The words echoed in my mind long after she had said them. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Ryan came downstairs and we all ate dinner as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Susan and I both knew it. I could feel the weight of it in the way I looked at her, in the way I couldn't stop thinking about her even when Ryan was right there. After dinner, I excused myself, retreating to the quiet of my room. I sat on the bed, my head spinning. This couldn't be happening. I had never felt anything like this before. I had never been so torn between my loyalty to my best friend and the undeniable pull of my feelings for his mother. And now that the truth was out in the open, I couldn't escape it. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of dread hanging over me. The guilt was overwhelming, but at the same time there was something else. A desire I couldn't ignore. I thought about Susan again and again, about how she made me feel, about the warmth and intensity between us. I had never felt that with anyone before. But then I thought of Ryan, his smile, his friendship, the years we had spent together. I had always been there for him, and now I was betraying that trust. I was betraying him in the most painful way imaginable. I didn't know what to do. The days following our conversation felt like a blur. Every time I saw Susan, my heart raced. I tried to act normal, to treat her like I always had, but the tension between us was undeniable. We shared a few more fleeting moments together. Casual conversations, glances that lasted too long, but nothing more than that. I was torn, afraid of what would happen if I crossed that line, but I couldn't ignore the magnetic pull I felt toward her. The worst part was I wasn't sure if Susan felt the same way. Was she just being kind, offering me a moment of reassurance? Or was there something more? Every time she smiled at me, I felt my resolve slip away. And every time I looked at Ryan, I felt the weight of the lie I was living. It was late one evening when everything came to a head. I had stayed at Ryan's house, as I often did, watching a movie with him and Susan. It was supposed to be an ordinary night, just like the ones before. But this time, as we sat on the couch, something shifted. Ryan had gone to the kitchen to grab some snacks, leaving Susan and me alone in the living room. I could feel her eyes on me, the air between us thick with unspoken words. My heart pounded as she shifted closer on the couch, her body language now more open, more inviting than ever before. "Clara," she said softly, her voice low, barely above a whisper. "I know how much you're struggling with this. And I understand your hesitation. But I need you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what. I'm not going to force you to do anything, but I want you to know you don't have to carry this alone." Her words sent a wave of warmth through me, but also a surge of guilt. I had always seen Susan as a maternal figure, someone I could look up to, but now there was a different kind of longing in her eyes, a longing that mirrored my own. Without thinking, I leaned closer. Her breath caught as I moved towards her, and before I knew it, our lips met. It wasn't passionate at first, but the moment was electric. Her hands gently cupped my face, pulling me in, and the kiss deepened, as if all the emotions we had been hiding for so long were now pouring out. I pulled away in a panic, my breath heavy, my heart racing. "What are we doing?" I whispered. Feeling the weight of the situation hit me. I could feel my chest tightening with guilt and desire. Susan's face was soft, her eyes filled with an emotion I couldn't quite name. "Clara," she said, her voice steady. "I never meant for this to happen, but I can't deny it anymore. We're both in this together now, and we need to face it." I shook my head, struggling to process everything. "This is wrong. Ryan, he's my best friend. He'll never forgive me if he finds out." Susan looked at me with understanding, her hand gently resting on mine. "You don't have to make a decision right away, Clara, but we can't keep pretending that nothing has changed. You deserve to be happy, and I want to be the one who makes you happy." The words lingered in the air, heavy with the weight of their meaning. I was caught between the love I had for Ryan and the undeniable attraction I felt toward his mother. This was no longer just a fleeting feeling. It was real, and the consequences of acting on it could destroy everything. Ryan returned to the room just then, completely unaware of what had just transpired between us. He smiled, sitting down between us on the couch. But as I looked at him, I felt the sharp sting of guilt. I had crossed a line I could never uncross. This story is about to take a turn. If you're intrigued, make sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications for more. Your support means the world. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment. The aftermath of that kiss was like a storm that refused to settle. I couldn't stop thinking about it. About how Susan had kissed me. About the weight of what I had just done. I had crossed a line, and no matter how hard I tried to deny it, I couldn't escape the truth. The feelings between us were real, and the consequences of acting on them had already begun to take shape. The next few days were the hardest. I couldn't look at Susan without feeling that familiar tension in the air. Every word we exchanged felt loaded, as though both of us knew what had happened but couldn't talk about it. Every time she smiled at me, I couldn't help but wonder if she was feeling the same confusion I was. It was as if we were both trapped in a situation neither of us could control. Meanwhile, Ryan seemed oblivious to the growing rift between his mother and me. We spent time together watching movies and hanging out, just like we always did. But every time I looked at him, I was reminded of the betrayal. The guilt gnawed at me constantly. He was my best friend, my brother in every way except by blood. And now I had kissed his mother. I couldn't look him in the eye without feeling like I was lying to him. One afternoon, I found myself at Ryan's house again. This time I had come to face the situation. I couldn't keep pretending like everything was okay when it wasn't. I needed to talk to Susan. We needed to face what we had started, no matter how painful it might be. Ryan was out with friends and Susan and I were alone. The silence between us was suffocating. She was sitting at the kitchen table sipping her coffee, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. She was just as aware of what had happened as I was. "I think we need to talk," I said, my voice shaking slightly. Susan looked up at me, her expression soft but serious. "I know, Clara. I know. I've been thinking about what happened too. And I don't want you to think that I'm pressuring you. I know this is complicated, and I never meant to put you in this position." I swallowed hard, my mind racing. "But you want this. You want us to be something more." She sighed, setting her cup down. "I don't know what I want, Clara. I know this is wrong. I know it's confusing. But I can't pretend I don't feel something. It's been building for a while, hasn't it? Ever since you were a kid. I've always seen something in you. But I never thought it would get to this point. And I don't want to hurt you or Ryan, but I can't ignore this anymore." I was silent for a moment, trying to process everything. "But Ryan, he's my best friend. He's family. This will destroy him." Susan reached across the table, taking my hand in hers. "I know, Clara. I know. And I never wanted to put you in this situation. But you can't ignore how you feel. Neither of us can." I pulled my hand away, standing up, my emotions swirling inside me. I couldn't bear the thought of losing Ryan, but at the same time I couldn't keep running from my feelings. I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I couldn't keep living this lie. "I have to tell him," I said quietly, my voice breaking. "I can't keep hiding this from him. He deserves to know the truth." Susan's eyes softened with understanding. "You do what you feel is right, Clara. But whatever happens, know that I care about you. You've been such an important part of my life for so long." I nodded, feeling a knot form in my stomach. I knew I couldn't delay this any longer. I had to face Ryan. The truth had to come out. It was time. I could feel it. The weight of the truth pressing down on me, threatening to crush everything I had worked for. The guilt had been suffocating, and every day I spent pretending everything was fine was a lie. I couldn't keep avoiding the inevitable. Ryan came back from his outing with friends later that afternoon, completely unaware of the storm that had been brewing. He walked into the house, whistling, and I could hear the cheerfulness in his voice as he called out to me. "Hey, Clara. What's up? I'm starving. You want to grab dinner?" I stood frozen for a moment, my heart racing in my chest. The words I had been rehearsing in my mind for days now seemed to slip away. How could I tell him? How could I break his heart? He walked into the living room, smiling, but stopped when he saw the expression on my face. The casual ease that always came with our friendship seemed to evaporate in an instant. "What's wrong?" he asked, his smile faltering. "You look tense." I swallowed hard, struggling to find my voice. I knew I had to say something, but I didn't know where to begin. It felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. "Ryan," I began, my voice shaky, "we need to talk. About your mom." The moment I said it, I could see the change in his face. His eyes narrowed, his smile fading as confusion replaced his usual relaxed demeanor. "What do you mean, Clara? What's going on?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. I don't know how to say this, but I've been feeling something for your mom. Something I never intended to happen. And I think she feels the same way. Ryan's face went pale, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief. What are you talking about? He asked, his voice tight with tension. I didn't want it to happen, I said quickly, trying to explain. But after everything that's been happening, after how close we've become, I can't ignore it anymore. I can't pretend that I don't have feelings for her. And I know this is wrong, but I wanted to tell you the truth before it's too late. There was a long, painful silence. Ryan just stared at me, his mouth slightly open as if he couldn't quite comprehend what I had just said. It felt like the world had stopped, the air thick with tension. You what? He finally whispered, his voice shaking. How could you? How could you do this? She's my mother, Clara. How long has this been going on? I didn't want it to happen, I repeated, feeling the tears welling up. It was never supposed to be this way. But I care about her, Ryan. And I didn't know how to tell you. Ryan took a step back, his hands running through his hair in frustration. I don't believe this, he said, his voice rising. I trusted you, Clara. You were my best friend. And now you're telling me you've been what? Falling in love with my mom behind my back? This is sick. His words hit me like a slap. I knew I had crossed a line, but hearing it from him, the pain and betrayal in his voice shattered me. I never wanted to hurt you, Ryan, I said, my voice breaking. I swear I never meant for any of this to happen, but I can't take it back. I can't pretend it didn't happen. Ryan looked at me with so much hurt in his eyes that I couldn't bear it. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again, he said, his voice quiet, almost broken. How could you do this to me? How could you do this to us? I took a step toward him, reaching out, but he backed away, shaking his head. I need time. I can't talk to you right now, Clara. I need time to figure this out. Without another word, Ryan turned and stormed out of the room, leaving me standing there, my heart in pieces. I had done the one thing I promised myself I would never do, betray the trust of the person who meant the most to me. And in doing so, I had destroyed the one friendship I had always counted on. The days after Ryan stormed out of the house felt like a lifetime. I couldn't escape the silence. I stayed in my room, only emerging when I had to. The tension in the house was palpable, even though Susan tried her best to pretend like everything was fine. But we both knew it wasn't. I hadn't heard from Ryan since that night. I tried calling, sending a few text messages, but all of them went unanswered. I knew I had hurt him, but the reality of it was too much to bear. I was beginning to wonder if he'd ever speak to me again, if our friendship could survive this betrayal. Susan seemed distant too. She hadn't approached me since our conversation, and I couldn't bring myself to talk to her. I didn't know what we were anymore, friends? Something more? The confusion was overwhelming. One evening, after several days of avoiding Susan, I finally mustered up the courage to sit down with her. She was in the living room, flipping through a magazine, her usual calm demeanor masking the tension beneath the surface. I could see the worry in her eyes when she noticed me standing at the doorway. Clara, she said softly, setting the magazine down. We need to talk. I nodded, walking in and sitting on the couch across from her. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding. I didn't know how to start, but I couldn't avoid it any longer. I'm sorry, Susan. I never wanted this to happen. I never wanted to hurt Ryan or you. Susan sighed, her gaze softening. I know, Clara. I know. But this situation is a lot more complicated than either of us expected. She paused, looking down at her hands. And I can see the pain you're in. I'm not blind to that. But you need to understand this can't go on like this. We can't keep pretending. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. I don't know what to do, Susan. Ryan won't talk to me. He's barely even looked at me since that night. I know, she replied, her voice quiet but firm. And I'm afraid the damage may be too deep. What we've done, what we've started, it's hurt him more than we can imagine. We need to give him space. And we need to make some tough decisions. I nodded, feeling my heart break even more. I didn't want to lose him. I didn't want to lose the friendship we've had for so many years. But now it feels like I've lost everything. Susan reached out and gently took my hand in hers. You didn't lose everything, Clara. You still have me. But you also have to realize that what we've done cannot be erased. And neither of us knows what happens next. I pulled my hand away, standing up, feeling the weight of her words press on me. I need to talk to Ryan. I need to make things right, no matter how hard it is. Susan stood up too, her expression serious but kind. I understand. But be prepared. He might not be ready to forgive you. And he might never forgive me. I felt a pang of guilt in my chest. I had crossed a line with Susan, but the real damage had been to Ryan. I had betrayed his trust in the worst way imaginable, and now all I could do was face the fallout. The days after my conversation with Susan were long and agonizing. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. My thoughts were consumed with Ryan. How much I had hurt him, how badly I wanted to fix things. But how could I? The damage felt too immense. Every time I thought about reaching out to him, fear gripped me. Would he ever forgive me? Could he? One afternoon I finally couldn't take it anymore. I had to see him. I had to try at least to make things right. I grabbed my phone and called Ryan. The dial tone seemed to echo in my ear, louder than I expected, and when he finally picked up, my heart skipped a beat. Ryan, I said, my voice trembling. Can we talk? There was a long pause and I held my breath. Finally he spoke. His voice was flat, emotionless. I don't know what there is to talk about, Clara. I know I've hurt you. I know I've ruined everything, I said quickly, desperate. But I need you to hear me out. Please. There was silence again and I could feel the tension building. Ryan was silent for what felt like an eternity. Then finally he sighed. Fine. We can talk. But I'm not making any promises. I drove to his house, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. I didn't know what I would say when I got there, but I had to try. When I arrived, Ryan was standing in the doorway, looking at me with a mixture of pain and anger in his eyes. You're the last person I thought I'd have to have this conversation with, Clara, he said, his voice low. I never thought you'd hurt me like this. I never wanted to hurt you, Ryan, I said, stepping forward. I can't take back what I did, but I need you to understand. It was never about you. It was me. I'm so sorry. Ryan stepped back, his arms crossed over his chest. Sorry isn't going to fix this. You kissed my mother, Clara. My mother. You've crossed a line I can't unsee. How could I ever trust you again? I felt my chest tighten. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I need you to know that this wasn't something I planned. I didn't intend for this to happen, and I never wanted to hurt you. His expression softened slightly, but the pain was still evident in his eyes. Then why didn't you tell me sooner? Why did you hide it? I was scared, I admitted. Scared of losing you, scared of losing what we had. But hiding it from you made everything worse. Ryan was quiet for a moment, processing my words. Clara, you've been like a brother to me. I trusted you. I've known you forever. And now everything feels broken. I swallowed hard, fighting back tears. I know I've broken your trust, and I can't undo that. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, if ever. But I'm asking for a chance to make it right. To fix this, however long it takes. Ryan was silent for a moment, and I could feel the weight of the decision he was about to make. He looked at me, his gaze filled with sadness and uncertainty. I don't know if I can forgive you, Clara. I don't know if I'll ever feel the same way about you again. But I'm willing to try. Not for you, but for the friendship we once had. I'm not promising anything, but I'm willing to start over. Slowly. My heart swelled with relief, even as guilt still lingered in my chest. It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was a start. And that was enough for now. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back, I said quietly. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for giving me a chance. Ryan nodded, his arms dropping to his sides. Just know this, things will never be the same between us. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we'll find a new way forward. Together, but differently. We stood there for a few moments in silence, the weight of the past lingering in the air. But for the first time in a long while I felt a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end. Clara's story has been one of pain, guilt, and heartache, but also of redemption and hope. As she faced the consequences of her actions, she found that while some things cannot be undone, Forgiveness and understanding can still bring about healing. With Ryan's tentative willingness to rebuild their friendship, Clara is given a second chance, one she will work hard to earn. What do you think about Clara's decision? Was she right to pursue her feelings for Susan? Can Ryan ever truly forgive her? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video if you enjoyed Clara's emotional journey, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that explore love, betrayal, and second chances. Stay tuned for more heart-wrenching dramatic tales coming soon.